Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is the Town Council session. Today is Monday, February 27th, 2017. I would ask everybody to please stand and pledge to the flag. Thank you. Dale, if you could take the roll call, please.
Council President Healy.
Here.
Council Vice President Collins.
Here.
Councilman DeCruz.
Here.
Councilwoman Gledhill.
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Item number 4, if I could have the approval of the minutes, item 4A and B from the work session and the regular session.
Motion to approve items 4A and B as presented. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Aye as well. Number 5 would be the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's move on to licenses 6A. This is a resolution granting a miscellaneous permit to conduct a portion of the race of the State of Rhode Island event in South Kingstown on August 6th to Manuka Sports Event Management, 11 Toro Street, Newport, subject to the execution of a hold harmless agreement indemnifying the town, issuance of a certificate of good standing, naming the town as an additional assured, and the event, the amount specified by the finance director, and the approval of TTRC and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation application by Juliana Barbieri. Is anybody here to speak to this event? Please come up and state your name.
Hi, my name is Juliana Barbieri. I'm with Manuka Sports Event Management.
Tell us a little bit about the event, please.
Sure, this will be the third year of Race the State. Race the State is a 55-mile race that starts in Tiverton and spans the state of Rhode Island, finishing in Westerly. It's 5 legs. It can be raced individually or with as many as 5 people. It's a run followed by a stand-up paddle across the Saconnet River, another run through Portsmouth to Newport, a kayak that takes you from Fort Adams across Jamestown and over to Narragansett to the URI GSO, and from there they will bike from Narragansett to Westerly, and that's the portion of the race that comes through South Kingstown. It's the same course as the past 2 years.
Great. Make a motion that we approve item 6A.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
And the next item is 6B, a resolution granting a holiday sales license to Sprint Spectrum, 20 Main Street, Wakefield. Application by Laura Veet. Is anybody here to speak on that behalf? Okay, if not, we can move that to the end of the meeting if somebody so decides to come in. Brings us to item 7, which is a public hearing relative to an application to perform construction activities within 25 feet of an historic cemetery, according to the South Kingstown Town Code, Chapter 14. Application by John D'Agostino, J. Thomas Investments, to relocate the cemetery from Matunic Schoolhouse Road to Riverside Cemetery. This request for relocation is associated with the planned construction of a single-family dwelling on a subject property.
Good evening. I'm John D'Agostino, the owner of J. Thomas Investments and J. Thomas Construction. In regards to the property located at 2027 Matunic Schoolhouse Road, we unknowingly came across some human remains in building a new residential construction home. And I've brought Jay Waller from Public Archaeological Laboratory here to speak on my behalf in regards to the founding and our proposed plan to relocate the remains.
Good evening. I'm Jay Waller. I'm a senior archaeologist with the Public Archaeology Laboratory. I'll briefly go through what we've done in our recommendations because our full memo is actually appended to the back of the agenda, so you'll have it for your reference. But in December of 2016, as John mentioned, some remains were unearthed on his property down in South Kingstown. At the time, construction was ceased. He informed the town building officials, who in turn informed the state police of the discovery. Construction ceased. And at that time, the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission were invited to comment on the project in accordance with both South Kingstown Code of Ordinance as well as Rhode Island General Law 23-1811. And the commission, which I might add, Principal Archaeologist Tim Ives from the commission is actually here tonight. They commented on it and requested an archaeological cemetery delineation as well as some background research in an attempt to identify the cemetery, which was unmarked, as well as confirm and identify the limits of the interments. My company, PAL, was retained to do the service. We commenced with the background research, which started with looking at old historic cemetery records, in which we did find a reference to, that was maintained at the Rhode Island Historical Society, an old ledger of cemetery records dating back to 1880, in which James Arnold identified a cemetery in the proximity of this unmarked cemetery, at least historically on the property of Hazard Canyon. We commenced doing the deed research here and followed the chain back, and sure enough, the property that he's working on was owned by Hazard Canyon. So we're fairly certain that we identified this unmarked cemetery as that of John Congdon. The John Congdon lot, according to James Arnold in 1880, was a small family lot that contained the remains of Mr. Congdon, his wife, and his children. But even in 1880, James Arnold noted that the cemetery was in very, very poor condition and was virtually, you could hardly see it at that time. So the cemetery had been lost between then and now. Construction commenced at the house. The remains were identified. So at this point in time, we identified one intact grave out there, as well as one partially intact grave. There were remains that had been disturbed. There was coffin furniture and other artifacts that were collected from the area, which date the interments to around the late 19th, perhaps as late as the early 20th century, but that's it. So there is only one in a portion grave that's remaining. We do know, based on the number of skeletal materials that had been collected from the property, that the cemetery, that 3.5 individuals were impacted. There's 1.5 that remain out there. So it was a total of 5 individuals associated with this historic cemetery. The cemetery is in very, very poor shape. It is located right at the front porch area of the house, which the foundation is in, and it was during cleanup of the foundation that the remains were identified. So it was our recommendation to the state and to the Mr. D'Agostino that the remains be relocated from the property to a more secure location, which he's opted to consider Riverside Cemetery right across the street. So at this point, our memo was submitted to the state. The state concurred with our recommendations. So we are prepared, and we're requesting permission and approval to relocate the remains in accordance with the burial ordinance.
And just to clarify, all 5, not the 3.5, but all 5 remains?
Yes, what's going to happen is a lot of the remains are still in the possession of the state's medical examiner. Mm-hmm. We will coordinate with the medical examiner and consolidate the remains that are held in state possession with those we collected during our exercise, as well as those recovered from the property, and they will all be collectively reinterred down at Riverside. Right now, the plan is, since we have one intact grave there, that individual will get its own plot over at the cemetery, but the other remains, since we can't parse out to which they belong, will be reburied in a mass grave.
Is any of the family were you able to find if there were any family locally related?
Not at this point. What has happened is the family name is John Congdon. Going through the historic records, Congdon's a very common name in this area. And During the time frame that we're looking at, there's a half a dozen John Congdons in the immediate area. So we don't know particularly which family it is. That information may be reconciled when we do the work. We propose to do additional background research, but what is more likely is, given the time frame of the remains, it is very likely that there will be a coffin plate associated with the intact individual, and once we have one identified individual, that should probably be able to help us identify which Congdon family, and at that time we can reach out to the descendants.
Great.
But we don't know who they are at this point.
Interesting.
Yes? We'd appreciate that.
We just interviewed somebody that said her family's been here since the 1500s, so I bet she could help too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I will definitely keep that all in mind. But the process itself right now is when and if we receive approval to relocate the remains, we will then submit a proposal and a permit application to the state, who will grant a permit for us to do the work. And then we'll continue consultation with everybody and begin the process, which will be relocation and then eventual reconsolidation of the remains and then reinterment.
And the expectation, there's room and payments to relocate those?
I would say yes, but John, you've been actually coordinating. Yes. Yeah, he's been consulting with Riverside.
Just in regards to the mass grave concept, is that normally someone's in a coffin, so is it everyone's in one coffin?
Yeah, what's going to happen, there will be a vault, a concrete vault, which is typical, and then the individuals are collected. We use, they're basically archival quality storage boxes, but they're typically used for exhumation and holding remains. That box with all the individuals will be placed in a concrete liner that will be buried at the cemetery.
Once let's say down the road where the family's identified, will there be any kind of placard to identify them?
John?
Yes, it's our plan to work with the descendants if they'd like to have a mass, if they'd like a specific placard with specific names on it. We're willing to work with the descendants in regards to them.
Okay.
Any further questions? Any other questions from the audience? Please come up to the podium and state your name.
Yes, hi. I'm Peggy Malcolm. I'm the chair of the Rhode Island Historical Cemetery Commission. So I'm here in relation to this reburial. My one question is to Mr. D'Agostino, and in light of the fact that we don't have a placard, we don't have a family name, will there be something, well, I would appreciate something that would say these remains removed from something, so that when those folks are reburied, there's something there to show who they are or where they came from. Okay. And is that all right with you? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any other further discussion?
Is there something for the record?
Oh, I saw that. Whoever makes this motion, miss.
I'll do it.
We do.
I would make a motion that we close the public hearing, if there's no more comments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No? Move on to a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve item 7A, an application to perform construction activities. We have to read this whole thing, right, Mike? Okay, I'd make a motion that we approve the public hearing, item 7A, and we include in that the memorandums dated February 7th, February 10th, December 15th of 2016, and January 17th in regards to this, as well as all the testimony from tonight.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion is passed. We will move to communications, I believe, 8B. Communication dated February 16th of this year from Larry Fish in regard to a proposed economic development coordinator position and prioritization of recommendations to the town council is received and placed on file, and we further direct.
I'll make a motion to place this item on file. We can refer to it during our budget process.
Second.
For discussion, I'd just like to point out that in our work session, we discussed that there are a number of things in this communication that the council has agreed to give attention to based on priority and affordability.
And there is pending information coming from the town manager on the cost on some of those items too. So look forward to, like Abel said, through the budget process, learning more about this.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing none opposed, item B is done. 8C, a communication dated February 14th from John Strangfeld, Chairman and CEO of Prudential Financial, and Joanne Bartololi, Executive Director, National Association of Secondary School Principals, informing the Town Council that Max Hempy was named one of the top 2 youth volunteers in Rhode Island for 2017 in the 22nd Annual Prudential Spirit of Community Awards. Is received and council directs.
I'll make a motion to place this on file, and we send a letter of congratulations to Mr. Hempy.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, we now move to item number 9, which is comments from interested citizens. Anybody wants to come up to the microphone, please come and state your name, and this is the time when you have the opportunity to speak.
Yes.
Yes. Please state your name.
My name is Margie Bookite, and I'm here to talk about the immigration situation and my concern for immigrants in our town. I have a statement prepared that I'd like to read, and I have copies for all of you. Rhode Island Future reported on February 7th that the State Attorney General, Peter Kilmartin, with Governor Raimundo's support, joined a lawsuit brought by 15 other states challenging President Trump's executive order on immigration. In Kilmartin's statement, he noted, quote, Rhode Island was founded on religious tolerance by visionaries and dissidents who were escaping religious persecution. Attorney Kilmartin went on to say that President Trump's executive order is in direct conflict with the principles upon which our state and this great nation was built upon. We cannot allow our constitutional rights to be trampled upon, people to be discarded, or our freedoms to be restricted. As a third-generation child of parents from Germany, Eastern Europe, and Greece, and a member of a multiracial family, I urge this town council to stand up in solidarity with our Attorney General and Governor. This legislative body, elected and trusted by our town residents, can show solidarity with our state by drafting and supporting a resolution that outlines local commitment for equal, respectful, and fair treatment of all people, regardless of their immigration status. This town council can be the voice for those of us who live here that South Kingstown intends to remain a welcoming community for all. Governor Raimondo on February 14th, in a statement to the political group Indivisible, said that she will, quote, protect every Rhode Islander, that she will protect every Rhode Islander, undocumented or not, and fight the Trump administration if it tries to withhold federal funds for doing so. We Rhode Islanders must be firm, as our governor and attorney general have, and stand up against hateful efforts aimed at stripping away the rights of some. Currently, Representative Shelby Maldonado of Central Falls has introduced legislation that prevents Rhode Island police from collaborating with ICE. Quote, the legislation, she explains, would clarify that no Rhode Island law enforcement officer may arrest or detain a person solely on the basis of an immigration detainer. While South Kingstown does not have the sizable immigrant community of Central Falls, our hometown is the location of the University of Rhode Island. At the university, there are 264 students who, in the latest census, identified as non-resident alien, and 23 faculty members. In South Kingstown itself, according to a 2016 census, 4.7% of South Kingstown citizens are foreign-born. I urge this town council to step up, draft and support a resolution in line with what the founders of the state of Rhode Island believe, a statement of local community support for every person who lives within town lines, regardless of their religion, country of birth, ethnicity, or their immigration status. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to also support this by the town council. My name is Bill Oley, and I'm a professor at the university where I'm chair of a search committee. We have 63 applicants for a position in electrical engineering, and I believe 2 are U.S. citizens. The rest are all foreign nationals. And I think by the town council making a statement that they support immigration and support the rights of people to move here and start a life and have a family here, that's really important for us to be able to tell prospective applicants. As you know, most engineering people now are from outside the United States. That's just the way things are. And it would be really helpful in our recruitment process to make that happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time. Any other comments from anybody in the audience? Any comments here at the table?
Just building off what was just said, I think I look forward to, drafting a resolution of some kind, whether it's this one that we've been given or not. I think it's important that we stand up for people's civil rights, and especially here in Rhode Island, the seat of separation of church and state. It's important to stand up to religious persecution, the way it's been executed through that executive order.
And a little bit along those lines, I wanted to note the Providence Journal recently came out with an article talking about the some of the policies that were rolled back under the new administration, and one of them was the transgender policy. And I was so happy to see that South Kingstown is one of 4 communities in Rhode Island that stands by their policy and was really thorough in their development of it. And, Kristen, our superintendent, was quoted in the paper as saying, she received virtually 0 opposition to the policy. And they were very thoughtful with their discussion. And I was just so proud to live in a community that embraces so many different people and is tolerant and welcoming, and along the same lines with immigration, that we just live in a really wonderful place. And I'm going to give kudos where it's due, and I kudos to that school committee for standing by that. I thought that was wonderful.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item number 10, the town manager's report.
As I've mentioned in the pre-session, we've released the municipal budget, town manager's recommendation for the 2017-18 year today. It's now on the town's website for review. The council will begin its review of the manager's recommended budget on Wednesday night, both Wednesday and Thursday of this week, March 1st and March 2nd, starting at 6:30. Council will review specific sections of that 383-page document. I think from a staff perspective, we're very proud of the format and the information that's contained in that report and budget. We certainly want to make the public well aware of how we spend money, why we spend money, and what service levels that we provide, and we certainly invite public to attend those work sessions. In addition, there will be sessions held on Monday and Tuesday of the following week. Those sessions to be held on the 6th and the 7th of March. On the 7th, we'll be dealing specifically with the school department's proposed budget. On the 6th, we'll be dealing with public safety programming as well as human services and civic organization funding. On the first night, we'll be doing the general introduction as well as a recap and summary of the 10 funds that are presented in the budget document, as well as looking at the administrative side of municipal government. In the second night, Thursday, we'll be looking at public services and recreation programming, both at the Guild, the municipal program, and the recreation center, as well as our 3 utilities. We look forward to being able to present that. Department directors will be available to answer questions at each of those meetings, and certainly we look forward to seeing the public at those meetings as well. Outside of that, I have nothing further to report this evening.
Steve, any update on the Ocean Mist meeting? Have you been able to schedule anything with Landry for that work session? Okay.
The first, yeah, and you were also, the first calls went out Thursday morning.
Okay. Oh, get your bases covered. Okay. Great. Wonderful. Yeah, keep us updated and let us know when you schedule that. Thank you.
And that was my report.
Oh, that's all you have, because I was just going to say, you're up next. If you're,
Don't go on vacation again. No, I'm just kidding.
if you have nothing else, we'll move forward. Let's go on to appointments.
Make a resolution appointing Andrew Martinez and Linda Stedman to the Historic District Commission for terms to expire in December 2017, 2018.
Second.
No, any further discussion?
Who gets which?
I don't know, maybe the order that I said.
We'll give Andrew the 17 and Linda 18.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business.
Oh, I have one more appointment.
Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion that we appoint Mark Spengler to the Saugatucket Veterans Memorial Park Commission for a term to expire in January 2020.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a resolution to reappoint Robert Cagnetta to the Zoning Board of Review for a term to expire March of 2020.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any oppositions? Okay. Any further appointments?
This isn't a further appointment, but maybe we should reach out to some of these other folks, like Alfred, who we interviewed today, regarding other commissions.
He's interested in zoning. We forcibly appoint somebody to zoning?
We could see if he has an interest in serving on that board commission.
Gentlemen, we...
Alfred Colonnese? Yes, please.
Please. Are we done with appointments?
So.
Okay. 13A, a resolution authorizing an award of contract to Peter Nunes, 4 Harkman's Land, Peacedale, for restoration, we need to have this done, to the Town Hall Tower clock in an amount not to exceed $14,000, including a $1,250 contingency, is further described in a memorandum from the building official to the town manager dated February 22nd. Did you want to speak to that, Steve?
Just as mentioned in the report, this is a specialized services. We did not go out for proposals on this. Mr. Nunes has maintained that clock for several years and certainly is well qualified to be able to do the amount of work that's necessary to restore it to its working condition.
Motion to approve item 13A.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. 13B, another resolution authorizing an award of contract to Mary Ellen Hall Court reporting, DBA Emmy Hall Court reporting, for pricing for a period commencing February 27th, 2017 through September 30th, 2018, and is further described in a memorandum from the building official to the town manager. Contract of stenographic services hourly rate.
The award is in accord with the MPA contract for these services. In the past, we've had purchase orders that have been below the threshold. There's no reason to continue that. It should be based on a council award so that we can pay as the requests come in. Important to note that as far as the transcription services, the transcriptions do not occur unless there's appeal taken either through the town or through the interested party. And if those transcriptions are actually going to occur, then it's going to be paid for by that party. What we're paying for is to have the person at the meeting to be able to have it ready so that if it needs to be put into a typeset, that it can be put into a typeset.
Motion to approve item 13B.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition?
We do have to go back to item 6B.
Yes. Seeing none, that passes. And I would ask if anybody is here for Sprint Spectrum, please come up to the podium if you have any questions or comments.
Motion to continue the item to the next meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Need a second?
We're all good?
Well,
Do we have a second?
I
We
don't
didn't
think
have
we
a
had a
second. Just say second. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned at 8:04.